Hi there. Welcome to my search engine optimization talk. My name is Brandon Yang, and I'm one of many e-commerce specialists at Honeywell. And in today's talk, I plan to take you from Search Engine Zero to Search Engine Hero. But before I do that, I'd like to just give a big thank you to both Payfast and the Insaka e-commerce academy for giving us this amazing opportunity to talk to you guys at this wonderful event. Okay, let's get started. First, we'll go through our table of contents. So just a little heads up though, I do plan on making this kind of informal and informal, trying to have a little bit of fun with it. So please relax and let's just learn together. Okay, so in the table of contents, it's just a breakdown of what we plan to go through today, who we are, what we do. Then I'll take you through the 7 steps for successful SEO, which would tie into something really cool called Maslow's hierarchy of SEO needs. Then we'll go on to explaining what is SEO exactly. We'll talk about different factors that you need to consider to build your SEO strategy. We'll talk about how search engines work as a whole, the impact of keywords and content in SEO, technical SEO implementation, as well as the importance of data tracking in SEO and e-commerce in general. That's just really important. Then at the end of our talk, we do have a free guide for you guys that basically summarizes everything we talk about today and more, that we'll leave a link with Warwick as well as in this guide. So don't hesitate there. You guys will definitely gain access to that. Okay, cool. So who are we? So Honeywell is an e-commerce and digital agency based in Woodstock. We are both Shopify partners as well as Google partners. We have built and optimized over 60 Shopify stores and moving on to 80 stores. We run SEO and digital campaigns every month for 4 different countries. It's South Africa, the UK, Australia, and the US. We are also running these campaigns for different businesses in different industries. So it's really helped us gain a lot of insight into the overall, gist of SEO itself, into the minor details. We've done extensive research into the topic for over 4 years. The business was actually started in late 2017, early 2018. And then, we are also the authors of the Honey Guide to SEO, which is, free for you at the end of this presentation. Okay, cool. So now that we've gotten a little bit through the nitty-gritty and who we are and all that stuff, we can get into the real good stuff, which is SEO. But before I do that, here are just a few of the services that we do offer. We are Shopify and e-commerce specialists, so that is our main, our main skills. We do offer audits, full SEO audits, as well as strategy formulation for our clients. The SEO audit will basically do a benchmark of your your current store, help you understand any errors, warnings, and notices that you need to immediately improve upon, as well as give you an understanding on your overall site health. So that's very important. We also help you generate your keyword list and also do competitor research for you there. So I definitely think that for businesses that don't have the time to do all this research, it's definitely worth it for you to contact us and get these audits done, as they'll give you massive insights into your business, brand, and industry. Then we also offer our clients conversion rate optimization, which is basically we go into your store and we look for different pain points in terms of the overall experience. We decrease your abandoned cart rates, we increase your conversion rate, we increase your returning rate, and we also increase or basically better your page speeds. Then we also do, marketing integrations with Facebook and Google, and also we help you implement your data tracking, because that's very important. You'll notice that with SEO, it's all about, or e-commerce in general, it's all about, looking at your customer and from their perspective and seeing what changes you can make from their end, not from your end, because it's all good. Every aspect about your business, but you wouldn't be able to understand the pain points that a consumer's feeling unless you put yourself in their positions. Okay, cool. So now we get to go into the nitty-gritty. Like I said in the beginning of our talk, I just want to take you through this Maslow's hierarchy of SEO needs. I'm sure you guys have heard of the human needs original or the equivalent. But basically, this is from start to finish, what I plan to talk to you about in this whole talk. We talk about, getting your site to be crawled on Google, creating compelling content, which is how people be able to search for you and click on you, optimize your keywords optimize your content for high volume keywords, which will help you gain access to larger volumes of traffic. Then the user experience, which is your page speed, ease of use, your overall user interface in general. And then we'll talk about you earning backlinks and creating share-worthy content. Then the SEO meta descriptions and page titles, and last but not least, your schema markup. We break everything down in this whole talk, so please don't be worried. At the end, you can always refer to this particular point and know that these are basically what you need to focus on, which is what I tie in on the next slide, which is our 7 steps for successful SEO. If you start from step 1 all the way to step 7, you would have built yourself an extremely powerful base foundation for your SEO. And the reason why this is important is it'll allow you to not have to worry about the basic foundation, so that you can start going into your ongoing SEO. So if we were to just summarize everything up here, like I said in the Maslow's hierarchy of SEO needs, step 1 would be to actually get websites or search engines to crawl your website. So your website has to be crawlable, and there are different ways to make sure of this, like creating a Google Search Console account, verifying your domain, and then submitting your sitemap will allow Google to get the most up-to-date version of your website once a week, so that you can continuously create content and not have to worry about Google indexing you at weird times. So as soon as you've done that, then you can move on to step 2, which is your keyword research and finding out, what keywords you want to rank for, how relevant are the keywords to the audiences that you're trying to market towards, the volume of those keywords to make sure that you're getting a large amount of traffic and not just a minuscule amount. And as soon as you've generated a keyword list, then you can move on to step 3, which is creating your compelling content that will effectively solve a user's questions or issues. Compelling content can also mean valuable content, something that a user could read and say, hey, yeah, I learned something from that, or hey, yeah, this will definitely help me make a decision later down the line. That's what we call compelling content, or even just content that gets them to convert right there. And value doesn't necessarily mean discounts or monetary value. Value can also mean usability, getting them to understand the value of the product, and all that. Then we move on to step 3, which is the user experience. You got to optimize your site speed. You got to make sure it's not loading too slow, because that will chase users away. You got to make sure it's responsive for both desktop and mobile. Those experiences have to be seamless. Actually, a stat from Statista indicates that 60+% of your visitors will be coming onto your site from mobile. So that's definitely important. Then step 5 is your shareable content, which is your backlinks and creating relationships and marketing your content on social platforms and things like that. Basically pushing traffic from different channels onto the main channel, which is your online store. Then step 6, which is your higher click-through rates. You can increase your click-through rates by creating consistency across the platforms. The text that you use on your post for social media can also be relevant to the text that you've been using on your website, or even for your search engine results page listings. Your title, your URL, and your meta description will play a very big factor in your click-through rate for users that click your results and go onto your website. And the reason there is that they want to see consistency. So if I was on a search engine results page and I'm looking for dog shoes, but then I see this one website says dog shoes, sells dog shoes and all that stuff, but then I click the link and I get taken to cat shoes, and I don't see dog shoes anywhere, but I see the word cat shoes everywhere, and I see cat shoes, then that'll decrease the click-through rate, because I'm not actually interested in cat shoes. I'm interested in dog shoes. So that's why you got to optimize all the content on your site, on all the platforms, to be consistent, so that you relay your brand on different channels. And that'll also create security for your customers. Then after step 6, we're going to step 7, which is your final step, which is your schema markup. It's basically breaking down your website into digestible, organized bits for Google to understand, and you can do this with JSON-LD, and you can do this with schema implementation in general, and it may be a very technically maybe a very technical implementation, but it's definitely something that will prove fruitful for you later down the line. Then we go into what is SEO. So we've actually spoken quite a bit about SEO, and at this point, some of you might have the question on your heads, what is SEO? Why is it so important? What does organic mean? And that's why I have this slide where I basically break it down for you in a very understandable manner. So search engine optimization, that is what SEO stands for. That's not something I needed to explain too much, but then it's also the importance of it, okay? So a lot of the time, I'm going to be talking about your organic results, and it's search engine optimization. The definition is the organic process of growing both website traffic quality and quantity. So now, in order to understand that easier, I'm going to give you a concept. So let's say, for example, you're sitting with me and we're looking for dog shoes again. Okay, so now we both Google dog shoes on Google, and the first, 1, 2, 3 results say ad next to them, and the typical user, and I've done user testing with this on friends, family, as well as clients and their customers. A lot of users tend to say that they skip those first few results on Google, because they know that that's an ad and it might not be directly relevant to what they're searching for, and then they'll go ahead to click the first or second or third organic results on Google or Bing or whatever search engine you use, and that's the difference there. Okay, this goes to show us that paid advertising doesn't bring in high quality traffic, and the difference between traffic quality, low quality traffic, and high quality traffic is high quality traffic found you didn't find them. So you would have found them if you're paying for ads and they searched dog shoes and your ad came up and they clicked that. You found them, you forced them to click your ad because it was compelling and all that stuff. But then a lot of users do the thing where they skip and then they click the organic results. And this means that they found you, which means they're more likely to perform actions on the website because they feel more accomplished in the sense that, hey, yeah, I got here on my own and no one's marketing to me right now. No one's putting pressure on me to purchase or do any or be part of any specific deal. And that's where SEO makes all the difference. Okay, cool. So now in the next slide, we'll take a look at different traffic channels and their size. And we got this data from Statista in 2020, and you can see here that the social channel and the email channel, as well as the paid channel, they don't bring in as much traffic as SEO. Okay, and SEO costs a fraction of the amount that paid ads would have costed you, okay, in the grand scheme of things. So that gets you to understand how impactful SEO is and why you definitely need to get started on it as soon as possible if you haven't. Then we move on to our next slide, which is your SEO strategy, and talking about different points that you might have to consider in before you build your SEO strategy. What are you looking to improve? Are you looking to improve your sales? Are you trying to get more people to download? Are you trying to increase the size of your email database? Do you want people to submit contact forms more often or make phone calls to your business? These are all conversion goals that you need to outline in the beginning so that you can start figuring out and expanding on different funnels that will help you get there. We speak about KPIs, which is your key performance indicators, and these are things like your bounce rate, your conversion rate, the number of purchases that you're getting on your site, the number of traffic that clicks on your results, and all of that plays in part to your SEO strategy and helping you understand, which is why data tracking is important and definitely something that you need to make sure is done correctly on your brand or your online store. So then, now that we've spoken about search engine optimization, the things you need to do, and all that stuff, it's all good But a lot of people go into the digital space and they don't understand how search engines actually work. And that's what I want to explain to you now. I want to take the time to get you to understand why you need to understand the way search engines work in order to help you make decisions for SEO later down the line. Okay, so this is a very overall gist of what search engines do or how they work. The search engine crawls every website, every link, any page on the internet. It would have crawled any available page. I must say that, because every website has something called a robots.txt file, which is basically a list of pages on the website that can be indexed and can't be indexed. Because obviously we don't want people to just, we don't need Google to index our login page. It's not really relevant. So basically search engines will crawl the whole internet and crawl every website's robot.txt to understand every single page on every single website. And then at that point, it'll index all that content that it would have collected. It'll store and organize it so that it can serve it to the right people at the right time or with the most relevant queries. Then the third step is once it's organized the content, it'll start ranking different websites' content and finding the most websites that have more backlinks, that have a lot more content, that are more readable and have a lot more traffic. Those websites will be ranked higher than websites that are lacking in those areas. So that's how Google or search engines will kind of classify the different pieces of content and how they rank it. This is basically a nutshell version of what I just said. So, and they use the spider as an excellent example because it's crawling the web, and it's actually called a Google spider bot or something like that. So the search engine starts here, and then the spider will go out and crawl the web onto different websites, and it literally crawls every single section just like a spider would. It crawls every single line of code, takes notes of all your content, and then consolidates its findings into different folders on the server of the search engine, so that when people search for a specific query, the search engine can quickly look through these folders and say, hey, yeah, this is the folder on the dog shoes keyword. Let's open this folder and let's just show this person everything they want on dog shoes. And that's how search engines work. So now the question is, are the search engines able to find your pages? You got to make sure that your website is indexable. In the beginning of this talk, I did mention that the best way to do this, especially with Google, is to create your Google Search Console account. Once you create your Google Search Console account, you will be prompted to verify your domain in two methods. You can either do it by adding a piece of script on your code, or going through your domain host and getting them to add a tag from Google on there, and then that will verify your domain. But once you've done that, you'll be able to submit your sitemap and automate that process on a weekly basis. And what that will do is it will allow Google to gain the most updated version of your website once a week. So it's not just, it will include all your new pages, all the new keywords that you've added, all the changes to your search engine listing previews, which is basically what we're seeing here. These are listing previews. It'll make sure that everything like that is updated on a weekly basis, and that's how you get started on making sure search engines can crawl your site. Then here are a few reasons why you aren't showing up. Your site might have been brand new and hasn't even been crawled by the Google spider bot yet, or your site isn't linked to any external website, so the actual links on the website aren't reachable. Your navigation makes it hard for the spider to crawl it effectively. Your site contains some basic code that blocks search engines, because you can actually add your entire site to your robots.txt and blacklist your whole site from Google so that it can't rank you or index you at all. That is something that you can do, and some websites might have that default added in or not. You just got to make sure that only the relevant pages that need to be blocked are being blocked, and not your content or valuable pages. The last reason is your site might be penalized by Google for spammy content, so they either threw you way down the rankings or took you off completely. And at that point, you need to re-evaluate your entire website and the content on it, and start creating more compelling or more valuable pieces of content. And spammy content is actually, let me just chime in here, but spammy content is actually the way that Google used to rank you effectively back in the day, like 2003, 2008, which is why you might think, why you might realize that back then websites just had a bunch of links. They were just being filled with links and keywords just spammed across there, and Google would have ranked those websites as number one. But the algorithm for Google has changed so much. It's become so much smarter. It actually looks for the value in your content. If it's even relevant to what people are searching, it can do that. So you can't think Google's dumb anymore. You gotta think of it as this really, really smart person, or people that come and check your website or your store and make sure that everything's up to scratch. And if it isn't, they're just not going to position you up there in the billboard for job rankings, things like that. So getting people to go onto your website is like a bulletin board with like your little piece of paper on there. And if you aren't optimized for search engines, then the Google bulletin will just remove you from the bulletin board, so you won't even rank. So these are different things that you got to keep in mind for why you aren't showing up on Google. I do know that I took a bit of a tangent there, but yeah, I think it's definitely good to help explain these things with some examples. Okay, cool. So now in the next slide, we do have a little bit of humor here. The best place to hide a dead body is page 2 of Google search results, because let's be honest, when was the last time you actually clicked next page on Google? And when was that content on that next page even remotely relevant to what you're searching for? One does not simply get to the top of Google, which basically goes to show that SEO is a process. You need to be patient, and it's not something that you wake up, you do today and then you wake up tomorrow and things are fixed. You got to constantly be working on it, creating relationships with other websites and businesses and brands, and creating more and more content. Okay, great. So now here are a few of our tips for ensuring crawlability. Ensure your content isn't hidden behind login or search forms. Text should not be hidden within non-text format. Your site's navigation should create a path crawlers can easily follow. So you need to basically make your website as easy to index as possible. Don't create these hugely complex, you can only, don't make it so that you can only click the contact us page through the about page. Add all these elements to the main menu, add any miscellaneous elements or pages to the footer menu. Basically, the header and footer of your website should be the two main areas where anyone or any visitor should be able to find anything that they're looking for. Your fact page, your product pages, your collections, about us, contact us, your legal pages, like your shipping policy and all that. Then having a clean and clear information architecture. Your site shouldn't be messy or clunked up. Underneath the shop heading, there should be the different categories of collections. Underneath about us should be, your blog post or your contact us. You need to clean and make it clear and clean and easy to crawl. The cleaner and clearer your website is, the easier it is to crawl with the spider bot. Like I said in the beginning, you can also utilize sitemaps. This is a big one with Google Search Console, and I might reiterate this a few more times during our talk today. And then you can also redirect traffic. Creating redirects ensures that links aren't broken or lost through changing over time. Like old links, you might have a blog that says meals for 2, but then you change the blog to be meals for 1. You got to make sure the old link redirects to the new one, so that you aren't losing out on anyone who's actually clicking on that link, and that they can still access your website. Okay, great. So now this ties back in with what I was mentioning earlier with Google's old form of indexing, which is just finding the content and then just organizing it, and then it'll look for all types of content, links and spammy keywords and things like that, and index it as per usual. But now it uses this new method called Caffeine, which is very, very responsive. It's constantly learning. It uses a feature called Rank Brain, which basically is an AI that is constantly learning and improving itself on understanding content, the importance of it, and ranking people accordingly to relevant queries. So what do search engines actually want? In the next slide, I will list a few points of what they're actually looking for from a website. They're looking for links. They want to go from place to place. The spider bot doesn't want to just end there on that last page, because then that's considered a bad page. It needs to be able to constantly move around and flow. So backlinks and inbound links. Like it says here, you got to think of your links as your word of mouth in the online space. Then the second thing is your page rank, which is the quality and quantity of your links, and as well as the content on your page, which is point 3. How well is the content on your page matching the query's intent? Matching what people are searching for. If it is very relevant, then the higher you rank. Okay, and then step 4 is what I was talking about earlier, which is Google's machine learning component for their algorithm, which is essentially just the AI. It is continuously working, it's continuously improving, it's continuously learning. So we got to be just as consistent, in terms of the content that we produce, the value that we're trying to create, the relationships that we want to build with our customers and other businesses online. SEO is really, the whole process of it is just creating a relationship with you and your customer, as well as you and other brands. You can even say that SEO is all about creating a relationship between you and Google as well, if you want to look at it like that. It's about creating valuable content. And that's all comes from, in e-commerce, that all comes from being consumer centric. Okay, great. So what does this mean for you? Google will continue leveraging RankBrain to promote the most relevant and helpful content. Like I said, it would. It's constantly learning. We just have to continuously work on effectively fulfilling our searchers' intent. So making sure our content is relevant no matter the time or place. Then that way we'll be able to get as many people from Google onto our site, and with a beautiful site experience, we'll be able to get all these people to convert and perform a specific action, either subscribe to our mailing list or actually purchase on the website. And yeah, there's so many more conversions that you can just come up with. So this now goes to the point where we've tackled the keywords, we've tackled the content. What about the user experience? Engagement metrics are part correlation and causation with Google metrics. So your user's interaction experience on your site is a direct factor to the way your site also ranks on Google. Tests have indicated that engagement metrics correlate with higher rankings. So higher engagement equals higher rankings. Essentially, this still just ties back to everything I've been saying, which is create a valuable experience, create valuable content. And in SEO, if you do that, you will never, ever go wrong. Here in this slide and the next slide, we have a couple quotes from people or people that are higher ups in the Google department. The ranking itself is affected by the click data. If we discover that for a particular query, 80% of people click on the second result and only 10% of people click on the first result, after a certain period of time, they're going to realize that the second result is what people want. So they'll just switch it and make that the more relevant result. So it'll become number one. So you see, if we can get people to react that way on our content, if get them to click on our ad or our result as often as possible, Google's going to realize that our content is more relevant than anything else, and will constantly keep on moving us up, getting us up until we rank 1, where we're opening the doors to most of the traffic of a particular keyword. And then that's when we'll be really in the sweet spot of SEO. Then Google's engineer Edmund Lau, who's actually on a platform called Clubhouse, and he speaks regularly on marketing in general. He says here that it's pretty clear that any reasonable search engine would use click data on their own results to feed back into ranking to improve the quality of search results. The actual mechanics of how click data is used is often proprietary, but Google makes it obvious that it uses click data with its patents on systems like rank adjusted content items. What this means is that the way Google just confirmed that it works is that the better your engagement, the higher your rankings along with your keywords. So a part of Google's algorithm to verify the quality of your content is also your engagement rankings, and that is the gist of this statement here. So now we can clear up on finishing up UX and SEO. Optimize your store for engagement, because engagement obviously means higher rankings. Focus on the user's experience from when they land on your site to when they leave. They need to know everything about your brand, the easiest way to get to where they need to go as soon as they land on the page after clicking your search engine result. In terms of ranking web pages, engagement metrics act like a fact checker. So Google's checking here. They're saying, okay, cool, this website has good content, but let's just make sure of that by looking at its engagement metrics. Okay, that looks good. Let's get this person up on top of rank 1. Okay, objective factors such as links and content first rank the page, then engagement metrics help Google adjust it. Just like I said, Google will say, hey, yeah, this content and the links on here are looking good. Now the engagement metrics match it. Perfect. Everything falls in line with each other. Then this is just an opportunity for improvement for your SEO. A lot of businesses struggle or don't know that they can do this, but you can open your free Google My Business listing account, which will basically it's basically what you see when you search for a particular business on Google, and on the right hand side it'll give you a little breakdown of what you see. Just give me 1 second and I'll show you that now. Okay, yeah. So this is your Google My Business page listing over here, and you can actually use this information to verify your business with Google, and this will also help push you up in the search engine results rankings. Okay, cool. So now that I've shown you that, now we can finish off here by saying Google uses 3 main factors to determine ranking in terms of these local listings. It's the relevance of your brand, it's the distance, it's the prominence, and the prominence includes things like your reviews and your organic ranking. And essentially, if you think about it, if my business is called Honeywell and there's another business called Honeywell, but that business is closer to the person searching for it and has more reviews, more positive reviews, and just a general higher organic ranking, then that's the business that will take preference in showcase in that particular Google My Business listing slot. So now we've gone through a whole bunch about SEO, but I do want to take some time to take you through keywords and content. With keywords and content, you got to have a single idea in your mind. Okay, it's all about the user intent. Okay, having a desired outcome or search result in mind equals the user's intent. I'm looking for dog shoes, so I will search dog shoes. These are different searcher intents that you have to kind of account for depending on the type of content that you're creating. You got your local searcher intent queries, which is people who are looking for a local shop nearby, which is how you would say in Johannesburg, if I owned a coffee shop called Honey Coffee, then I would say Honey Coffee, Johannesburg, South Africa, Honey Coffee, Melrose Arch, places in Johannesburg that more Joburg people will relate to, or the people that are local in that area will relate to, most likely to search, and that is how you create your content or your queries for the local searcher's intent. Then your commercial, which is people who want to purchase products or services Then your informational, which is searches that are looking for information, looking to get educated on a specific question or topic. Navigational, people who want to go to a particular place, like a Facebook page, like I would search Honeywell Facebook to go find the Honeywell Facebook page. Then transactional, and this is people who are, want to make an action right then and there. They want to buy the plane ticket, they want to rent a car, they want to book a hotel room, things like that. So these are all the different types of searches intent that you got to account for when you're creating your search engine listing previews, as well as the content on your site, because they're all directly related to each other. Okay, so now at this point in time, a lot of people tend to have the question, so then how do I get started on my keyword research? And these are the 4 points that we can best recommend you. Understand your market. Once you understand your market, you'll be able to understand exactly how you'll need to market towards them and the type of content that you will need to create for them. You got to ask the right questions. You got to put yourselves in your market's shoes, your typical ideal audience or customer's shoes, and ask some questions on what they would ask. Or you can even conduct feedback forms to kind of get that type of information from potential customers. Identify your seed keywords. Your seed keywords are your main keywords. If I was, ranking for dog shoes would be my main keyword. But then you got your long tail keywords and your head keywords, which is like, where can I buy dog shoes? That's a head keyword. Dog shoes for sale in South Africa, that's a long tail keyword right there. So it has your seed keyword in it, but elaborates a bit on it. Then the fourth point, which is to research your keywords. There are different methods to research volumes of keywords and competitiveness for people that are willing to pay for tools. There are brilliant tools out there that can help you generate your lists of high volume keywords and help you understand exactly what's happening in your industry and what keywords your competitors are using. But for those people that don't want to spend the money on the keyword tools, all you got to do is spend a little time on Google. Go onto Google, go onto the search box, type a search query that's relevant to your business, look at the type of results that pop up, and look at the pages, look at those websites and see what they're doing right to get that type of content, and that'll give you an idea on what you need to do to get started on that. That which you want to rank for and what your audience actually wants are often two wildly different things. So this talks about business owners and marketing specialists in e-commerce. A lot of them think that they know what's best. And I, for one, I might sound like that right now, but at the end of the day, data is king and speaks the most. So if you can actually get the data on what your audience actually wants, it'll open your eyes on their position, and also it'll help you understand exactly what you need to do to market towards them. Okay. And also a lot of business owners, they think they know the best about their business, but that's not the case, because the customer is what really matters at the end. So discovering keyword variations, like I said earlier, you would start with your seed keyword. You can use there are free keyword research tools out there and paid keyword research tools out there. You can also use the basic method that I described earlier, which is just going onto the Google platform and then just doing a few searches, looking at the results, the density of the results. And actually this would tie back to this page over here. Here. You would look at the volume of this particular keyword. Sometimes you'd see it in the millions, sometimes you'd see it in the thousands, and that's how you'd understand, okay, are a lot of people searching for this, or are not a lot of people searching for this? If it takes longer for Google to bring up all the results, like 0.8 seconds, it means that it's a lot more competitive. There's a lot more people ranking for this, but especially since the longer it takes, the more results it'll generate. Okay, cool. So now if we go all the way back, we had left off right here. So we left off at point 2, keyword research tool. There are free versions, there are paid versions. It doesn't matter which one you use. It just matters that you get some sort of data to understand your industry and market. Don't start with nothing, start with something. So, and then you can find variations of your keyword, build your long tail and your head keywords after you've figured out the seed keywords that you want to rank for. Then look at the search volume for all of these different keywords, prioritize the ones that you want to implement immediately, and then just get going on them. Start creating updating your product descriptions, update your About Us page, create an FAQs page, create a keyword bank, create your keyword banks, which are your blogs, and those are all important and will help you rank a lot higher and help you gain more traffic. Here are some tools to utilize for keywords. Google Keyword Planner. This is the most common starting place for keyword research, especially for people that aren't willing to go on a paid tool. It'll help you look at different keywords that you might want to rank for your brand. Google Trends helps you find the seasonal keyword fluctuations of a particular keyword. Answer the Public is a very popular, commonly searched for questions platform around a specific keyword. So it'll help you elaborate on your seed keywords. Then WordStream is there is a free version of this tool. It's extremely powerful and will help you find, keyword volumes and the competitiveness of those keywords. Then Keyword Keg is one of our personal favorites. It'll help you generate accurate keyword volume data. We typically leaned towards accuracy on our data just to make sure that, what we're targeting is high volume keywords. We don't want to go for low volume keywords. Okay, great. So then now we want to focus on our audience. Use your keyword data to hone in on insights that will make for much more successful campaigns. Once you have your keyword data, you can start creating different pieces of copy that can accommodate for different psychological points of your audience. For people who aren't aware of your brand, that are looking for brands like yours, you can use the keyword data and the keywords that you find. You can structure some copy to accommodate those types of customers. Then you've also got your customers that are in the psychological position that want to purchase. You can use your keyword data and as well as the high volume keywords that you're using or that you found to create copy that is more likely to push people to purchase. And all of this is a learning curve. Okay, you're going to try out a lot of this copy, and then you're going to be testing, you're going to be throwing some away, you're going to be scaling some, and then you're going to just be working on it. And a year down the line, 2 years down the line, you'll look back and you'll have a very, very firm, powerful SEO foundation. You'll have ongoing, consistent organic traffic, and you will still be able to constantly improve on that by increasing backlinks, creating more content, ranking for even more higher volume keywords. With SEO, the potential is there and the cost is low. You just got to have the patience and the time to do it. So now we've spoke about keywords and content, but now we should actually talk about the on-page content, how you're going to be inputting your keywords, the way it's going to be looking, and different tips and factors that impact the performance of your on-page SEO. So over here we have 4 points here, and it's to focus on creating valuable content, build some backlinks, do some link building, make your content shareable, and a typical reminder is good SEO takes time and patience because there's no actual cost involved except for your time and your patience. You can't expect SEO to start bringing in 100,000 people per day if you don't even put in the time to look for those 100,000 people. Content creation is more than just words. It's the way you talk about it. You can repurpose content, you can use videos, and all it has to do is that the content on your page must match your user's intent. Okay, that's definitely the biggest tip we can give you to get people to convert more on your website, is that the copy that they saw on your search engine results, it needs to be consistent with the copy that's on the website. Otherwise, there's like a miscommunication in between, which will decrease the customer's security or how comfortable they feel on your website. There's no restriction on your content since you're focusing on user satisfaction and goal accomplishments. So don't worry about creating beautiful content, all this, all that. Worry about creating valuable content. You don't have to create paragraphs and paragraphs, but you do need to create pieces of paragraphs that can generate a lot of value. So we've already spoken about the last thing, which is your top ranking signals, which is your on-page content, your links to your website, and rank brain. So all of this ties in part with increasing your engagement, having high volume keywords, and this will all play in parts to increasing your rank. Okay, cool. So here are some do's and don'ts for on-page content. You don't want any thin content, which is just low quality content that had little effort in it, with keywords that are being spammed across the whole page. You'd rather have value-based content, which is content that satisfies the user's intent. That answers questions, that solves issues. That is valuable content. You don't want any duplicate content, because Google actually really hates duplicate content, as it makes it, well, search engines in general really hate duplicate content because it makes it difficult for them to choose the original versus the most correct page. They need to be able to differentiate one or two from each other, because if both pages are very identical, but the one page has more content than the other, then you don't know if Google's going to rank for the old page or the new page, or the short page or the long page. So you got to make sure your content is readable. Readable in terms of the actual person reading your content, and Google or the search engine. And then one big tip that I can give to you is, you don't have to be a copywriter to create valuable content. You don't have to be a text specialist or anything like that. You can go out there, you can find what has worked for other people, and you can repurpose it for yourself. It's not illegal. It's not plagiarism. It's perfectly fine, and will help you get to where you need to be quicker. Instead of hiring a copywriter, wasting money, wasting costs, you can just go and find some free paraphrasing tools on the web that will help you repurpose content on a pretty large scale. And then the last tip here is to avoid keyword stuffing. So you will find a lot of your high volume keywords, but this doesn't mean you should use every single high volume keyword, as many as humanly possible on a single page of like 3 paragraphs. That's keyword stuffing. Google's going to see it. Google's going to understand that this isn't really valuable content. So all the points here that have an X next to them are definitely indicators of poorly created content that generate no value. And at that point, Google would see this, and it would actually push you down further down the ranks. So here's a good step-by-step formula for content creation. Search the keywords you want your page to rank for. Look at the pages that are currently ranking highly for those keywords, see what qualities those pages possess, and then just create content that is better than that or very similar to that. Here is on-page optimization tips for different things that you have to take into account on your on-page SEO, like your header tag. Your H1 tag is your header tag, and it basically tells the search engine what the content that's following that header is about. Your internal links is very important because it helps with your navigation across the website, helps the crawlers find every page on your website, which will help you rank correctly on Google or other search engines. Link accessibility. These are your links that are dependent on activity or often hidden from search engines. You need to make these directly accessible, like your login pages, your cart pages, your checkout pages. They need to be very easily noticeable and easily accessible. Then your anchor text. This isn't as relevant as many of the other points here, but search engines just need to understand your content quicker and easier, which will increase your chances of being served directly to your audience. Then we'll go into your image optimization. You got to make sure your images on your website aren't too dense, so they aren't loading. This will cause your website to load very slowly. You can compress your images, or you can even implement something called lazy loading on your website, which will basically only load the image when the user scrolls onto that section, which massively improves site speed. Redirections. If you ever delete pages or hide pages or anything like that, you just got to make sure that those links aren't reachable, and if they are, they need to be redirected to a working link. link equity, which is your link volume. The more links on a page, the less equity each link can pass to its destination page. So you got to think about links as in it's only good to actually have a handful of them, not to have like 100 of them, because then the quality of those links decrease through the sheer amount of clicks that you have. Then keyword text, like I said earlier, don't overdo the placement of keywords on your page. Don't stuff your keywords on your page, because like I said, this will actually negatively impact your rankings on search engines. Here's more tips on page optimization. These are alt tags for your images, which will help Google or search engines understand your image content. And it's also for people who are disabled, like blind people. They won't be able to read the alt text, but they do have machines that can read out loud the text that is on the website there. And for deaf people, they can just read what the image is about or see the image. Then the image sitemap. This is so that Google can crawl and index your images. This you can also do with Google Search Console. Then your formatting of your text and your copy. It needs to be in a very readable manner. Your font has to be consistent. Text sizes shouldn't be too large for paragraph text, or just large in general. Your paragraph breaks must be uniform, and you shouldn't be stuffing all these. Like, you shouldn't have one paragraph with like 1,000 words. Rather have like 5 paragraphs with about 200 words each. Then you get your title tags, which is your search engine listing preview, part of your search engine listing preview, and your meta description, which is basically what we see when we search for dog shoes and we see the blue heading and the text underlining. Those are your title tags and your meta descriptions. Then you also have your URL naming. This is something that people don't take into consideration when going through their SEO. The URLs on your site have to be relevant to the content on the site, especially when you're using these URLs in your organic marketing, so your search engine listing previews, or even your paid advertising. People want to make sure that the link that they click is relevant to what they actually want to search for. Otherwise, they're wasting their time, and you would be wasting your money. Page organization. Ensure your pages are correctly organized. Your site structure is prominent and is clean and clear. Then your keywords and your URLs. This isn't that important, but can also help improve your click-through rate, because if you have your high volume keywords in the URLs of your pages, it'll make it more consistent across the platforms, because you can almost guarantee that those keywords will be on the pages anyways, or on the posts anyways. Okay, great. So we've gone through quite a bit now, and there's not too much to go through. The last remaining bits is like your technical SEO, then we'll go through data tracking, and then we'll go through the freebies. So for technical SEO, you want to make sure content is readable by search engines. And the way we would do this is, first, let's understand the process of when you click a website link, what actually happens. Okay, so when you click a link, you as the user, you're requesting it from the domain, the server of the domain. You're telling that domain that you want to access this page and you want to view all the content on it. At that point, your browser makes a request to the server for the correct IP address of the website, including all of its code and content. And then the server sees the browser request, accepts the browser request, sends all the relevant content onto the browser. The browser assembles the page using the content from the server, and then the browser makes any final requests, and then only after the 5th point here, only then will the browser actually show you the web page. So all of this happens in 0.1 to 0.8 seconds, and depending on page speeds, this will take a lot longer. So this is why page speed optimization matters. And this is where you can see how it actually plays a role. Because if the browser makes a request to the server at step 2, and the images and just the content on the page is so dense, the server is going to take a lot of time to send those resources over back to the browser. And not only that, but the browser is also going to take a bit of time to assemble all those pages. and then it still has to make those final requests. So it is a process. It just happens really quickly, and the more content or more denser the pages on your site, the longer this process takes. That was the DOM example that I just took you through. DOMs are basically, it says here is your document object model, which is basically everything on a specific page, and this is the process that I'm referring to here in my example. So how do search engines understand websites better? There is, this all ties into our schema implementation, which is the method. So it'll go from schema to JSON-LD to rich snippets, all the way to structured markup, all the way to what you see on Google. Okay, so the schema is the method of labeling or organizing your content so that search engines have a better understanding of certain elements on your pages. These elements could be your review stars, your recipes, different site links, the ability to access different pages just from Google search results. Then you got your JSON-LD, which is one of Google's preferred schema markup methods, which will enable the search engine to actually interpret the rich snippets on your site. So this is what I mentioned when you would break down the content on your site and you would format it into digestible bits for Google to basically interpret, and that's your JSON-LD. And then it all plays in part with your structured markup, the accurate reflection of your page. The search engines will better understand what you're serving if your schema markup matches your content. So if your logo in your structured markup matches the logo on the position on the site, the different page titles, your contact details, your location, the name of the pages, and the relevancy of the content, and all of this plays in part with Google. So if recall back to the Maslow's hierarchy of SEO needs, the structured markup section or the schema implementation is right at the top and is most of the time the last point for basic SEO implementation. So tips for UX and engagement in SEO. So these are our tips for ensuring positive user experience. You've got a responsive mobile first design, a responsive design or a mobile first design. You can even better your mobile designs with AMPs, which is your accelerated mobile pages, which is basically building your website purely from a mobile perspective, and having that mobile site function separately from your desktop site. Then you got your mobile first indexing, which is making sure basically classifying your site to be indexed by search engines through mobile only or mobile first. And then you can also improve your page speed, because this will definitely mitigate visitor frustration. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to a point in your life where you've tried to load a specific website, but it just took too long and you just got so turned off by it that you just left it. And then your images are definitely one of your main culprits of your slow pages, because a lot of people don't know that you have to compress your images and they just upload them in these extremely dense formats or large dimensions. That will bring down the speed of your website. Then improving speed by condensing and bundling your files. This is more of a technical intensive task here, but it is possible for you to compress the code on your website to make it more or make it quicker to load when the server makes the request from the browser or the browser makes the request from the server. And also ensuring for positive UX, you should also cater for an international audience. You might not have to cater for an international audience, but you can definitely look at industry professionals in an established economy in an international space. You can look at what they're doing, the type of content that they're creating, and then you can just match it. And for an emerging economy such as South Africa, that will allow you to already be leagues ahead of your local competitors. So ensuring your site is seen as high quality and UX optimized for search engines will allow you to not only have a beautiful experience on your site, it will not only mark you as an industry leader in your particular industry to the search engines, but you'll also be ranking a lot higher for pages on your site and allowing you to gain access to a lot of of traffic. And at the end of the day, that's the main goal of SEO. It's to bring in high quality traffic so that they can go and action high quality conversions, so that we can increase average order values, increase our conversion rates, decrease our abandoned cart rates, because everyone that's on the site from the organic channel, they're finding everything relevant. And so they will go and perform the actions right there and then, or might even save it and then come back later. Okay, so one of our tips here for SEO is you are what you eat. If you want to get to the top of SEO, you got to be an expert, authoritative, trustworthy icon in your industry. So you got to be a leader. You got to be creating content. You got to be building relationships. You got to be constantly innovating your business as you grow, and that will allow you to be ranking as high as possible on Google and other search engines. Like I said, at the end of the day, you're trying to build your brand on an organic level. If you try to build your brand on a paid level, like if you just been purely building your brand on Google and Facebook, anyone can go and kill your campaigns, and they would effectively be killing your business. But not just anyone can go and kill your SEO. That's definitely not something that's reliant on costs or another platform or another agency. You can do all of this by yourself. So now it ties into another part of technical SEO, which is something that I have spoken about a few times in our talk, which is backlinks, or another way that I've been saying it is creating and building more relationships with other brands online. You can create customer and partner links. Customer links is basically affiliate links, getting people to share more links of your website across the board by giving them specific affiliate marketing links that they can use for their audiences and whatnot. Then you got your partner links, which is basically building and publishing blog posts or unique resources or resources pages and publishing them on other people's websites that links them back to your website. And the whole concept here is you would effectively be piggybacking off your partner's traffic, allowing that traffic to access your website. And also when Google crawls your partner websites, it'll see your website on there, and that will help them to understand that you are becoming a more effective industry leader. All of these play a factor in increasing your page rank. So I actually say to a few clients that in my professional opinion, in my time that I've spent in e-commerce, I personally think that backlink building, it will probably be the strongest form of gaining the biggest amount of traffic, organic traffic on a site. And you should only focus on building backlinks once you've optimized your user experience, as well as created a good fair amount of content on your website. Okay, great. So now we move on to one of our final sections, which is tracking performance. In the next slide, I'll basically be showing you the most important metrics to be tracking, especially in e-commerce. So let's just take a look at that. You've got your bounce rate, which indicates that a user visited and left without browsing further. So your bounce sessions or your bounce rate is how much time or how likely people are to land on your website and then leave. So a good average for bounce rates is between 30 to a high 40, or even a high 50. But anything over 60 or anything below 30 is kind of classified as a bad bounce rate. And the reason why low bounce rates are fishy is because there's actually no such thing as bounce rates that go below 14% or anything like that. There's always going to be people on your website that might not feel relevant to be on your website at that given point in time, and they'll just leave. And that will just be classified as a bounce rate or a bounce session. Then your scroll depth measures how far visitors have scrolled down your individual pages. You got your search traffic, which measures the amount of traffic going to your site or pages. The returning rate of your visitors is definitely something that you want to keep track of. The engagement on your website, which is your click-through rate. How relevant is the content on your site? The higher the click-through rate, the more relevant the content. Okay, the conversion rate, this I'm pretty sure everyone knows. It's the rate at which a customer completes a specific goal on your site or a page. A conversion doesn't necessarily mean a purchase. It could also mean an email sign-up, downloads, or anything like that. And you would kind of classify those by setting out goals for your business before you set up your conversion tracking. Time on page is very obvious. It's the average time a user spends on a specific page on your website. The lower the time, the less relevant the page was for that user, and the higher the time means that the user is finding the content on that page important and valuable, and they want to consume all of it. Then the pages per visit is also pretty cool. It helps you understand if your website is easily navigatable, is easily used in a sense in terms of the navigation items, if your users are able to go to different parts of the website, and also if your users are visiting more than one page, it means your content or your brand or your website is relevant enough for them to stay on the brand and to understand exactly what you're about. So these are probably our most important metrics moving forward for SEO. So feel free to screenshot this if you need to, because I do think that it will prove handy to you later down the line. This is the biggest platform that we use for Google for data tracking. It's Google Analytics. You really honestly don't need any other platform, especially if you don't plan to go with any paid tools for keyword research. Google Analytics does it all. Like, you can even connect your Google Analytics to your Google Ads at a point so that they can communicate data to each other, and that way it leaves you a lot more room to just make the improvements that you need to focus on, and you don't need to worry about the stuff that's too technically intensive. And then we have a new app coming out soon. It was supposed to be on the store on the Shopify store on April 1st. And then we have Data Whale Reports, which is an app that we are currently building that will be on the Shopify store in 2021. It is locally developed, and Data Whale Reports, basically, it emails reports on your store's performance every day and week to your email inbox, so that as soon as you wake up in the morning, you get the most relevant data report sent directly to your email, so that you can see right then and there what are the biggest changes that happen on your website, improvements and non-improvements, where are you lacking, and where can you where are opportunities to better the site and the performance and the experience. Right now it's not active, but we will keep you guys updated on that. Then here is our free Honeywell SEO guide. It is quite a comprehensive guide, which basically goes through everything that I just went through in our discussion today. You can find the link to this guide on our website at honeywell.co.za/SEO-guide. Honeywell.co.za/SEO-guide. That is where you'll be able to find anything on the guide, as well as downloading it for free. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my talk today. I really hope that you found it as valuable as I found it providing it to you. I really had a lot of fun creating this presentation. And once again, I want to thank Warwick at the Insaka eCommerce Academy, as well as the Payfast team, for giving all of these different businesses an opportunity to present to such a large audience. And I hope you guys are definitely going to be improving your game on SEO moving forward. Please, if you have any questions or any issues at all, do not hesitate to contact us at info@honeywell.co.za. We respond really quickly and are always happy to help you wherever we can. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day. Cheers. Bye.